But what goes through your mind in the exact moment you realize you've made a catastrophic financial mistake? Imagine signing the paperwork for a new car, driving it off the lot, and knowing the vehicle loses 50,000 ringgit in value the second the tires touch the street. This chart illustrates the math of compound loss. That initial 50,000 ringgit hit isn't an isolated event. Factoring in opportunity cost, the market yields that capital would have generated, the gap between what you have and what you could have built widens dramatically over 10 years. Yet highly intelligent people regularly sign multi-decade loan agreements without reading the underlying terms. We skip the math because the psychological friction of processing complex contracts feels heavier than the excitement of the purchase. The real world delivers the test first and the lesson second, and the price tag for that education is permanently deducted from your net worth. Zoom out from individual purchases and the risk multiplies. Taking cues from an unqualified advisor or following a sudden market trend puts entire life savings on the line. This flowchart shows how a single misunderstood investment acts as a catalyst. One underperforming asset forces a reallocation of emergency funds, which leads to high-interest credit debt, triggering a cascade of secondary crises that wipe out years of capital. Our system leaves you to figure out these mechanics entirely through high-risk trial and error, betting your livelihood while you learn. Navigating the economy this way guarantees that those who don't already understand the rules will pay a lifelong penalty to those who do. But what if we remove the risk entirely? What if you could experience complete financial failure safely? The Malaysia Cash Flow Cup functions as a high-pressure intellectual simulator, requiring players to navigate complex fiscal variables in real time. Through a process called experiential de-risking, you make high-stakes investments, manage debt, and face total bankruptcy without losing a single cent of actual capital. Look at this timeline comparison. Rebuilding from a major real-world loss takes a decade. The simulator compresses that learning curve, allowing you to crash, analyze the error, and instantly reset your strategy in minutes. The environment safely isolates your specific money habits, forcing you to confront the exact logical flaws holding back your real-world bank account. Decoupling the acquisition of financial wisdom from the pain of financial ruin gives you an immense advantage in wealth creation. When you place a player in a competitive environment and force them to iterate financial decisions back-to-back, their brain adapts. They develop financial pattern recognition. They stop seeing random numbers and start instantly spotting the subtle mathematical differences between toxic liabilities and performing assets. This radar chart maps a trained player's mental calculus. Experiencing new market conditions, they instantly weigh risk, cash flow, and capital gain. This advanced recognition maps a highly optimized path for your actual portfolio before you ever sign a real contract. You also absorb decades of lessons simply by watching the opponents across the table make fatal mistakes with their own simulated assets. Subjecting yourself to competitive simulation condenses what usually takes a lifetime of hard knocks into just a few hours of intense focus. In 2026, this stress test expands to a massive nationwide arena. This map details the synchronized intellectual battleground set across 7 major urban hubs in Malaysia. Thousands of amateur players will enter. Through a methodical, rigorous filtering process, only a fraction of elite competitors will survive the early rounds. The process concludes with the crowning of a single national champion, the player who has demonstrated the most consistent ability to scale capital and mitigate risk across every round. The tournament serves as a high-stakes measure of practical financial literacy, where every ranking is determined by specific, repeatable strategic outcomes. But before we turn our attention to the national stage, take a hard look at your own financial portfolio. Audit your current financial habits. Are you genuinely prepared to navigate the massive economic volatility coming in the next decade? The market will eventually force you to learn its rules. The only variable is whether you acquire that knowledge in a protected environment or through the depletion of your actual life savings. Command your future. Step into the arena and join the Malaysia Cash Flow Cup 2026.